Welcome back to Poorly Educated Today in the News, the only program where we explain geopolitics the same way your uncle explains engine trouble. Confidently, loudly, and with no owner's manual in sight. It is December 13th, 2025. And folks, if you feel like the world is wobbling, that's because it is. This ain't one crisis. It's the Costco variety pack of disasters. You don't buy it on purpose, but now you gotta finish it. Let's dig in. Segment 1. Operation Southern Spear, Sanctions with Helicopters, and the Caribbean FAFO Zone. So America decided sanctions were getting ignored, so we upgraded to ropes and rifles. Operation Southern Spear kicked off with U.S. forces boarding an oil tanker called the Skipper in the Caribbean, fast roping down from helicopters like it's an audition for a reboot nobody asked for. Now this wasn't just any boat. This thing had more aliases than a Florida man with warrants. Fake flags, GPS lying about where it was, hauling over 1 million barrels of oil tied to Russian money and Venezuelan supply. Basically a floating shell company with engines. And here's the big shift. This wasn't a polite stop and search. This was the United States saying sanctions are no longer paperwork. They're physical now. We brought a carrier group to enforce accounting rules. That's new. Trump summed it up perfectly when he said about the seized oil, well, we keep it, I guess. Which is the same legal theory used by raccoons, toddlers, and my cousin when he borrows tools. Venezuela is calling it piracy. Europe is uncomfortable. Britain stopped sharing intel like a couple that just needs space. And the administration says it's about drugs, even though boats keep getting hit with missiles instead of Miranda rights. This is escalation dominance. It's saying we're done asking. And once you cross that line, there's no rewind button. Segment 2. Ukraine, Winter Warfare, and the Death of the Peace Process. Now let's slide from warm Caribbean water straight into frozen hell. Russia launched one of the biggest winter attack packages of the war. Hundreds of drones, cruise missiles, hypersonics. Basically a fireworks show designed by a war criminal. Ukraine shot down most of it, but enough got through to knock out power, hit ports, burn grain, and leave over 1 million people in the dark. This isn't about winning territory right now. This is about freezing civilians until politics cracks. At the same time, diplomacy collapsed like a folding table at a tailgate. Trump's 28-point peace plan got rejected outright. Russia wants land, NATO rollback, and permanent control of strategic assets. Ukraine wants security guarantees that aren't imaginary. Trump's reportedly sick of meetings, which is understandable until you realize this meeting involves hypersonic missiles and not a zoning dispute. Zelensky is boxed in. Make concessions without guarantees and risk losing the country later, or hold firm and risk losing support now. That's not leadership failure. That's a no-win setup. Segment 3. The Middle East reset, Syria after Assad, and pragmatism nobody likes. While all that's happening, Syria quietly crossed the 1-year mark since Assad fled. The prisons opened, the statues came down, and a former insurgent leader put on a suit and started doing diplomacy. Ahmed al-Sharaa now runs a transitional government that promises stability, leans religious, and makes everyone uncomfortable. And America looked at the options and said, fine. Stability beats chaos. Congress lifted Syria sanctions in the NDAA, officially ending a policy designed to punish a regime that no longer exists. This is realpolitik in action. Not pretty, not clean, but designed to prevent Syria from collapsing into another breeding ground for regional disaster. You don't have to like it. You just have to admit the alternative is worse. Segment 4. Courts, Deportations, and the Constitution Stress Test. Back home, the government is stress testing the Constitution like it's a used truck pulling a boat uphill. A federal judge said stop deportation flights. The administration said the order was verbal. The judge said that's not how courts work. DOJ responded by asking to remove the judge and block the hearing entirely. Then a whistleblower pops up saying DOJ officials discussed ignoring court orders altogether. That's not a gray area. That's the kind of thing they warn you about in civics class, right before everyone stops paying attention. The Attorney General went after the judge publicly, framing oversight as political warfare. And once the referee becomes the enemy, you're not playing the same game anymore. This isn't left versus right. This is whether court orders mean anything when they're inconvenient. Segment 5. The NDAA, Military Culture Wars, and Congressional Leashes. Congress passed a $901 billion defense bill because nothing says restraint like a number that needs commas. They repealed the Iraq War Authorization from 2002, locked in troop levels in Europe, forced transparency on Caribbean strikes, and guaranteed baseline aid for Ukraine. That's Congress saying you can fight, but you're not doing it in the dark. At the same time, the bill chopped DEI programs, banned transgender women from academy sports, and cut climate resilience funding like floods are just a rumor. This NDAA is both a leash and a weapon. It reins in the executive while locking in long-term military posture. It's oversight with a buzz cut. Segment 6. The AI Bubble, Ethics Acrobatics, and Reality Checking In. Now let's talk money, or more specifically, the sound it makes when optimism hits physics. Tech stocks slid hard. Broadcom, Oracle, Nvidia, all wobbling because it turns out AI needs power, land, labor, and time. Oracle straight up said they can't build data centers fast enough. That's the bubble talking back. And overseeing AI policy is David Sachs, who holds hundreds of tech investments while shaping the rules. Ethics experts are calling it legalized conflict of interest. Normal folks are calling it exactly what it looks like. You can't referee a game you're betting on. That's not innovation. That's a casino with a dress code. Segment 7. Inflation, measles, floods, and the real world pushing back. While Wall Street panics, Main Street is already tired. Groceries cost more, power costs more, gifts cost more. Polls say Americans feel broke, ignored, and annoyed. Trump says there's no inflation and maybe buy fewer dolls. That's not policy. That's a dad joke that missed the room. Meanwhile, measles is back because vaccination rates dropped below herd immunity. Floods are smashing Washington state, and climate science keeps being proven correct in real time. Viruses don't care about ideology. Water doesn't care about culture wars. Reality keeps showing up whether invited or not. Segment 8. Loss, sports, and the human scale of chaos. Actor Peter Green passed away. One of those faces you always recognize, even if you don't know the name. A reminder that culture is built by people who rarely get headlines. And in hockey, Connor Bedard goes down in a freak injury because even sports can't escape the chaos cycle this week. In conclusion, December 13th, 2025 isn't about one disaster. It's about everything happening at once. Power abroad, law at home, money in flux, and reality punching back. This is what a polycrisis looks like. No villain monologue, no reset button, just momentum. And that's today in the news. Poorly educated, but unfortunately paying attention.